She began to cry, standing there in her housecoat and slippers, holding her shoulders. The tears that ran on her pitted cheek looked like ink. She had her eye closed, but the lid that covered the naked socket did not work so well anymore, and it sagged in the cavity and struggled up, and that raw hole seemed to watch him with some ghastly equanimity. An eye for another kind of seeing, like the pineal gland in atavistic reptiles, watching through time, through conjugations of space and matter to that still center where the living and the dead are one. So recently I read this book, Suttree, by Cormac McCarthy. Now, this was his fourth novel overall, and his longest, certainly by page count, and probably by word count too, but who knows. And I'm quite a familiar reader if you've watched this channel before. Excuse me. If you've watched this channel before, then you'll know I've read The Crossing, but I've also read his first three books and his last two books, and now throw Suttree and The Crossing in there. And that's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his 10 novels, I believe. 10 novels, yes? 10 novels. Um, and so I have a pretty good feel, certainly of past themes and characters, and maybe the prose that I'm about to jump into. Certainly, it's very, I think, difficult to just jump right into McCarthy, especially if it's going to be a very long and rigorous book like this. Um, but yeah, to give you an idea of what the plot's like, well, invariably, whenever I saw reviews or maybe some kind of synopsis or just video like this online, a lot of people would just make the comment that there's a whole lot, not a whole lot of plot, which is true, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good story. Or maybe it's kind of a mesh of stories within one character's life of about 3 to 4 years. The eponymous character, Cornelius Suttree, lives in Knoxville in a houseboat on the river, and he lives in poverty. He sets out lines for fishing, catches fish, and sells them. That's basically his only income. But along the way, obviously, he does kind of these just various odd jobs that the McCarthy characters will do from time to time in other books. Um, but this character, Suttree, is on the fringe of society. On the front flap, or the description of the book, which in my case is on the front flap, it said that he was estranged from his prominent family. And I don't feel like you get a strong sense of that within the actual text of the book. Had I had I read the book and not read the front flap, then I don't think I would have gotten that or understood that. But that's what it says, and so it's presumably this maybe upper class family of his, and he's just decided to go away. You also come to find out he's been married before and he's had a child, and he re-encounters that in the first third or so of the book. So he's obviously a man that's left his past behind, and there are kind of reasons for that, but I won't get into that. It's mild spoilers. Um, Now, the book kind of takes the form of, I don't know if you're familiar with the term, it's called picaresque. I think I am pronouncing that right, Picaresque. And in fact, a lot of McCarthy's books kind of have this sense about them that they're a coming of age story. Now, picaresques are typically classified as books that are um, maybe not dubiously funny, but I mean uh, there's always some sort of wacky misadventure, for lack of a better term, in them. And McCarthy is a darker author than that, if that makes sense. His books are not usually light and airy and funny. Maybe I mean, of all books that I've read by him, this is one of kind of the most light and happy-go-lucky books that there is. And it's tough to say that it's a coming-of-age story, which is what a picaresque is, because you get the sense that Suttree is somewhere around near 30. He might have said his age within the book, but I'm not sure. But that's the best way I can classify it with this word. Because again, it's lacking a clear, distinct plot. Like, for instance, in No Country for Old Men, if you've read that, the satchel of money is the plot device, like throughout the whole book. Unequivocally, that's what the story is basically about. Even though, like, say, the sheriff doesn't want the satchel of money per se, um, without that money trading hands, there's no way the story even happens. So, but in this, I mean, it skips from, as I said, he's got encounters with past members of his family. Um, he meets, he's imprisoned early on in the book. He actually gets out of prison, and he met a guy in there who figures more or less prominently in the book. And I mean, there's this one very strange part where he just goes off for a couple months, maybe a year, and just kind of lives in the wild. Just kind of packs up and leaves. And then there's another part where, anyway, I won't go all into the specific details of the plot. Um, but it jumps, but the thing that keeps it all together are certainly the recurring characters and the people that he's friends with and surrounds with. And he's a very well beloved and well respected character. His big flaw, though, is that you don't really get a sense that he wants anything in particular. Um, and even when he gets something that maybe he enjoys, again, trying to not spoil all the nice little just stories in here, but when he comes upon something that he likes or enjoys, you get the sense that he doesn't quite know how to handle, or maybe he doesn't think he deserves it. I don't know. It'd be interesting to have a discussion on. If you have read this book, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you are new to McCarthy, I would not recommend this to start out with. If I could recommend one book for new readers to McCarthy, I would give them his second book, Outer Dark. I think that's a lot of what he does in that book appears and is just scattered all over the rest of his work. But most likely you're going to read No Country for Old Men or The Road. Or maybe All the Pretty Horses, because those are probably his three most well-known books. All three of them have been made into movies. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, if you've read McCarthy before, go ahead and pick this up. Like I said, it's long. It lacks clear and distinct plot, but just check it out. If you have read it, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Beautiful.